Hi everybody, it's Maya Zahira with Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and we are now live in our free Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary, and this is our first Facebook Live since October. So today is February 14th, 2023, and our last Facebook Live was last October 2022. And I just want to say up front that I'm recovering from a little bit of a cold. If I hadn't been so intent on doing this Facebook Live today, I would have just put it off for another week, but we could just keep putting it off forever, and I just really wanted to be here. So I might start coughing or clearing my throat or whatever, but really, those of you who've been with me for a while, you know that I like to show up as authentic, and if that's with a froggy throat or a cough or whatever, let's just do this. We're here no matter what. And it doesn't have to be perfect. It's about the time that we're spending together. So thank you to those of you who are jumping on live. I want to say that the purpose of our Facebook Live tonight is a little bit different than what we used to do before. Sorry for the coughing. Because the Facebook Live today, what I want to do, as much as my throat will allow, I want to just hang out today. So I have some announcements that I'm going to share, really important announcements. And then I'm also going to do some reading from my new book, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook. And I'll talk about that a little bit today. And really the whole purpose of this Facebook Live is to just get us started on reconnecting through Facebook Live. Okay? So I also want to give a shout out to those of you who are watching the replay elsewhere, like the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being a subscriber. And I know there's all sorts of videos on YouTube, and I just want to thank you for being here and for watching this video. I know that I do my videos differently than a lot of people on YouTube, and it's on purpose. Most of the videos on the YouTube channel are Facebook Lives that I've simply uploaded to YouTube so that the public can have access to those replays. So Facebook Lives by nature tend to be more laid back. There's interruptions, there's chit chat and all of that among whatever the lesson is. So that is how it is, and that is how it's going to be. So those of you who are joining live, go ahead and tell us where you're joining from. And I'm going to make some announcements, and then I'm going to read a section of the book. Okay, so bear with me and my scratchy throat here. So the first announcement that I want to talk about is, where have I been? Why did I just drop off like that? So I'm going to talk about that, and then I'm going to talk about our new Facebook Live schedule and some new offerings, and then we'll get into the book reading. Elle, a brand new subscriber from today, I remember letting you into the group, is from Wisconsin. That's awesome. Tina is in Kansas City, Missouri. Anybody who's watching this on YouTube, I encourage you to join our Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary Facebook group. Now, I don't let everybody in. You have to answer the 3 questions, and I have to be convinced that you have a real Facebook profile and that you're not a fake profile or a bot or whatever, like all those other options, that you actually are interested in the group. So if you take some time and answer the questions and I can see that you have a real profile, then I will let you in. Okay. Okay. So where have I been? So back in October, I was getting really focused on my goal of finishing the book. It's my second book. And I originally, oh my gosh, I forgot about this. Originally, I was thinking, if I keep at my normal writing schedule, I will be done, like it should be published by March, which would be after now. It would not be published yet. It would still be in the process of getting done. And I kept getting all of these really strong messages that, no, you need to finish it by the end of the year. You need to push and get this done. And so it was my focus. And I knew, like, I need to just remove anything else. The Facebook Lives, personal activities, like I stopped everything. And the only thing that I was focusing on were the students in my academy and teaching those classes and writing. And that was it. So I was writing. Then, of course, after I got done writing, the editing process takes a while. And getting the cover done, getting it up onto Amazon. So it's actually been, let's see, we're in February now. So it's been available to the public for just a little while now, a week or two. So it's still really new. But it was a really big process and it took took every single extra second. So I really missed you guys, but I had to make that book a priority because the information in that book is extremely important for everybody, for everyone, whether you're going through a major psychic attack or you just want to understand how this stuff works. Then I just knew it had to get done. So that's where I've been. And now that that is all done, I am reorienting. And I was planning on going back to my once a month Facebook Live, which I've been doing that for a couple of years. Like a long time ago, I used to do Facebook Lives every week. And then I went down to twice a month. And then I went down to once a month. And so I was going to go back to once a month. And I started announcing that in the Facebook group. And then a couple of days ago, all of a sudden it just dropped into my crown chakra, this clarity down into my brain that, no, you're supposed to do it different this time. And once a month, we're still having our longer class where I'm teaching. But then all of the other Tuesdays, I'm going to go ahead and get on and we can hang out. I can give a few tips, maybe read from my book, just whatever. But every single Tuesday, we're going to make it a standing appointment every single Tuesday, even if it's even if it's just 10 minutes, I'm showing up every Tuesday. So grab your pen or grab your calendar and mark this down. Every Tuesday, Facebook Live. And it is at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. And if you are somewhere else, adjust that to your time zone. You can Google it. Okay, so every Tuesday from now on, we're going to be meeting live. So I invite you to join us. And then when is our longer class going to be? Our official free Facebook Live class. Because right now we're just kind of hanging out today. This is kind of a hangout class, the official class where I have a lesson plan written down and I am teaching you things. that are important about various aspects of psychic protection. That is the third Tuesday. So every Tuesday we're meeting, and then whenever we run into the third Tuesday of the month, we will have an official class here on Facebook Live in our free Facebook group, Psychic Protection Sanctuary. So I hope you will join me every week, and most especially the third Tuesday. If you can't keep track of when the third Tuesday is, just tune in every Tuesday at the proper time, and we'll do whatever it is that we are doing. Okay? So it just so happens that next Tuesday is the third Tuesday. So next Tuesday, we're going to have our longer official free Facebook Live class. And in that lesson, I'm going to be talking about what I really think about spirit guides. And I'm going to be sharing some things that you might already know about me and my views, but I might be sharing some things that you're not aware of. And I think it's important to hear these perspectives so that you can figure out what's right for you and develop your discernment. So that class is going to be all about developing spiritual discernment, and I'll be sharing some of my views on what I think about working with spirit guides, getting messages from your spirit guides, and all of that. And if you think you know what I think about it, you might not know. So go ahead and tune in, and I will share with you. And in the meantime, you can start thinking about, do you work with spirit guides? Do you believe in spirit guides? How much do you depend on your spirit guides? Do you know who they are? And if you have no idea what spirit guides are, that's okay too, because I will be explaining it from square one. Okay? So join us next week. All right, so happy to see the more people joining us live. In just a minute, I'm going to be reading from my book, but I do have one more announcement, and it's that now that the second book is done, I've been working hard behind the scenes, like recalibrating and creating some new things. And so I just wanted to let you know that there are some new offerings. So those of you who have already visited my website and you've seen what offerings I used to have, it's different now. It's a little bit different now. So I invite you to go to my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and click on Work with Maya, and you'll see my 12-month academy is still there, and it is going strong. I've been doing that group for a while. It's been a few years now, and we have an amazing group, and that is still going. And then we also have some other offerings, one of which is a donation-based sliding scale program. So if you were wanting to work with me before and you just your budget wasn't in a place to be able to do that, check out the donation-based program where you get to choose what amount you can afford. That's not the academy, it's a different thing, but you might be interested. And then there's a couple of other cool brand new options that might be of interest, and instead of telling you about them, I invite you to just go to the webpage and take a look around. Go to psychicprotectionsanctuary.com and click on Work with Maya, and you'll see really there's an option for everyone. There is truly an option for everyone, no matter what your situation is, whether you want to make a long-term commitment or not, whether you have the budget for something or you want to just get a little bit of help, like making a one-time purchase. Like there's literally I set it up differently now to where you have every option, and so it should be workable for, almost everybody who needs help. Okay, so let's do a little bit of reading from the book. This is available on Amazon, the Psychic Attack Sourcebook, and this is literally a culmination of all of my working in the field of psychic protection. So teaching classes and working with clients and seeing, well, originally all of this started when I was working through my own issues, and then that evolved into working with others. So the information in this book is all about the knowledge that I gained from my own situations and from working with many, many clients and students, and the patterns that I was seeing over and over again. And so with that said, I'm going to tell you what's in the table of contents so that you have an idea, because this really is very different than any other book out there about psychic protection. There are some other good books out there, but they're just not, they just don't talk about what this book talks about. There are books out there that have some methods for learning to balance and manage your energies, and that's an important skill. There are books out there that have spells for protecting your energy and clearing out negative interference, black magic, and that sort of thing. But I find that there are a lot of pieces missing. It's just not comprehensive enough that if someone's having a really serious issue, a couple of spells just don't do it. It's just not. It's not enough to address the issue. That's been my experience and the experience of many of my students. And so this book is very comprehensive, especially in explaining exactly in detail all of these different aspects of psychic attack and how it's happening and why it's happening. Because if you skip that part, and I'm going on a tangent, but that's okay. We're hanging out together. One thing that I see a lot is, actually I saw this the other day in a Facebook post in another group. Somebody was having some issues and they were trying to clear it, but they didn't understand the nature of what was going on with the spiritual issue, and they were just trying to toss spaghetti against the wall, like, well, I tried burning Palo Santo, I tried doing this, I tried doing protective symbols, it didn't work. Well, have you taken time to identify what's actually going on before you start throwing random stuff to try to clear it? Because maybe that'll work, but a lot of times it doesn't, and it wasn't working for that person, and that's very, very, very common. So that's why this book, the book title is The Psychic Attack Sourcebook, Understanding and Surviving the Unimaginable. So a big part of the book is understanding what are the different kinds of entities. Why is psychic attack happening? What are these different elements of it? And then we get into how to clear it. Okay? Because if you don't understand the first part, maybe you'll be able to clear the issue, maybe not. So that's why there was a lot of thought put into presenting it in this way. So here are some of the chapters. Obviously, starting off with basics. What is a psychic attack? Dangerous misconceptions about spiritual warfare. And that's a really important chapter because there are so many people who are like, well, you don't really need to learn about spiritual warfare. Just burn sage and just be a positive person and you'll be fine. Wrong. That's as some of you know who've had crazy situations, just focusing on the positive does not protect you. So if you want to know what those misconceptions are and what the truth is, that would be chapter 2. Secondary psychic attack. So that's actually a term that I coined a few years back that describes the phenomenon where you are not being directly attacked by entities. It's more indirect, where there is a person or people in your life who they are being nudged by negative spiritual forces to mess with you. So they are the ones that are being messed with by entities, but they are not the actual target. You are. So it has this secondary effect once removed. But the targeted individual is the one who's being targeted, and people are being sent into their life by either entities, dark spiritual forces, to mess with that person. And I go into explanation and detail about secondary psychic attack in chapter 3. Chapter 4 is super interesting. This is called Assault on the Mind. And for anyone who's gone through any level of spiritual warfare, this is extremely important to understand all of the ways that this psychological psychic attack works, how it works. Because if you don't know that that's what's happening to you, it's very easy to get sucked in and believe whatever energies, telepathy, etc., that's being sent into your mind to make you feel crazy, to make you feel afraid. And a lot of times it's actually part of the psychic attack. And just that chapter alone will help you find a lot of relief in understanding what's actually happening. Chapter 5, if I were to pinpoint the most important chapter in the whole book, it's chapter 5. Strategies of the Dark Forces. And it's literally a list. I don't know, are there like 27? There's a huge list of all of these strategies that these patterns that I have noticed again and again and again with how these dark forces operate. And if you understand what these strategies are, then when there's something that's trying to ramp up in your life, you'll go, oh, I know what that is. And then just knowing it, just being able to identify what it is, helps to disengage a lot of its power. Chapter 6 is spiritual warfare in relationships and sex. And this also includes issues of violation by entities, but also a big part of the chapter is about people who've been targeted through love relationships, where they are intentionally sent harmful partners over and over and over again. And I explain exactly what that's all about. Chapter 7 is all about false light entities. And I'm going to read from that chapter today, because that was what I randomly opened up to when I was preparing. Chapter 8, spiritual targeting through ancestry and soul contracts. And if you don't know what soul contracts are, I explain it from square one in that chapter. And indeed, a person's soul contracts can be hijacked by negative forces. They can be hijacked so that a person can end up being put in the wrong family line intentionally. They can, like all of their life plan can get completely jacked up. There's so much that can happen that it might be very eye-opening to read that chapter, because a lot of what's taught in popular New Age right now is that the only thing that can happen to you are things that you've chosen through your soul contracts, and that's actually not true. Some of your soul contracts can actually be hijacked and interfered with. And chapter 9 is the last chapter that is all about practical tips for spiritual cleansing and protection. And it literally goes step by step. I have a unique personality type and mental construct, I guess you would call it, in that I'm able to be really creative, but also very linear. And so over the years in working with clients and seeing these patterns and seeing what was working and what wasn't working, I was able to really construct a step-by-step method that actually works over and over again. It works for everybody. It works for everybody who's having either minor or major psychic protection issues. So, and the other thing that I'll say is that the people who've read the book so far have said that they appreciate that even though this could be a very complicated topic, it could be a very hard to understand topic. What they've said is that I've been able to make it very understandable and easy to understand. So, I just repeated myself. Very understandable and easy to understand. Very easy to comprehend, even if you're a beginner or if you're more advanced in these topics. It's going to make sense. It's not overcomplicated. Okay. So, hey Rosalinda, hey Sharon, hey Yvonne. All right. So as promised, I'm going to read a section. This was literally just a section that I opened up. And so this might resonate for you. It might not. And remember, I just went over all of the other topics of this book. So this book is not all about false light. My first book, by the way, Darkness Disguises Light, it actually is a story about a false light encounter, an encounter that I had with a false light entity in 2016. And that was what catapulted me into receiving the downloads, the spiritual downloads about all of these aspects of psychic protection. So if you want to know like the story of how I got into this work, this book also has a lesson at the end of each chapter that teaches you methods for psychic protection, but each chapter also tells my story. And people have found that book very interesting. Whereas this book is 100% information, all these different topics. So let's explore false light. Okay. Jumping right in, middle of the chapter here, page 166. Signs of a false light entity. Let me make sure my comments are coming through. Okay. Hey, Rosalinda. Happy Valentine's Day to you, too. As I mentioned earlier, I became keenly aware of false light entities in 2016, and along with that came the ability to clearly distinguish when an entity is posing as something it is not. Since then, I have come face to face with thousands of different false light entities, and I have noted some common patterns in their behaviors and presentation. Keep in mind that everyone has different ways of perceiving energy, so you may personally notice some signs unique from mine. The descriptions below will help get you started in pinpointing these imposters. Because false light beings are not true beings of light, They tend to overcompensate by making their spiritual light exceedingly bright. Those who are clairvoyant may experience the entity as blindingly bright to the point that it makes their eyes or head hurt. The deceiving entity may present as an overpowering white light or another color light, or as an intense fire-like plasma. They may also shapeshift into an angel, ascended master, loved one, or other so-called benevolent being with an extreme bright shining radiance. Again, they do this because they are overcompensating for not being true light. This trick fools a lot of people who very understandably assume that the powerful glow indicates a very holy presence. In contrast, true light tends to be much more subtle. Similarly, for those who have auditory experiences with the imposter entity, the voice will come across as extremely loud. Jinn entities, in particular, tend to communicate telepathically, and in my experience, I literally hear their loud, thundering voice booming inside my head. It is always markedly louder and bolder than any communication from a truly benevolent source. And true light tends to come across in much more subtle, gentle ways. If the entity in question presents itself in any way that it is extreme, that is a red flag that you could be dealing with an imposter. Can you think of any spiritual stories in your cultural folklore or spiritual heritage where a spiritual being acted in this manner? You might begin to question what was really happening in those stories. Another trick utilized by false light is to announce their presence with a high-pitched sound frequency which a person will hear in one or both ears. The trickiest part of this is that so many misguided, channeled messages have brought forth the lie that the high-pitched frequency is actually a sign of positive high vibrational beings like angels and ascended masters. Wrong. This outright lie has been spread through popular spirituality with the intention to trick people into opening up their energy to imposter entities. Before I knew any better, I was fooled by it too. Do not listen to popularized spiritual teachings because so much of it has literally been hijacked by false light forces. Trickster entities are liars. Make no mistake, though, they take a very intelligent and deliberate approach to their lies, giving 80% lovely truths with 20% lies woven in. In this way, their channeled messages are readily believed by their victims. Spiritual seekers may feel confused because the entity's messages are so compelling, yet they have been led astray by lies on more than one occasion. The entity is gaslighting them. Deceiving entities tend to be extreme boundary violators, doing whatever they want to their victims without consent. The even bigger problem that I see so often is that the targeted person has become so enamored and drawn in by the compelling shapeshifter that they will give open-ended consent for the entity to do whatever it wants. The person will intently listen to everything the fraudster says and do whatever the entity tells them to do. In many cases, even when I point out to the person, even when I point out that the person is dealing with a shapeshifter entity, they will still continue to follow the entity's orders because they are so hooked into it. I have known genuine spiritual seekers who ended up in prison because they continued to follow the orders of a trickster entity that had brainwashed them into believing it was a loving spirit guide. This might sound outlandish, but it is exactly what can happen when people do not know about false light. I'm going to keep going. If you are having a blissed out spiritual encounter that seems too good to be true, it just might be. False light entities are known to impart powerful feelings of euphoria upon their victims as a means of very compelling manipulation. When the person is overcome with such spiritual rapture, they drop their defenses and eagerly welcome the entity into their energy field, giving it free rein to do as it pleases to the person. The spiritual seeker believes they are having an elevated interaction with an ascended being. The experience is so intoxicating that the person never even guesses that there is something sinister behind the so-called being of light. One of my past mentors used to call this spiritual anesthetic. The entity will use bliss to numb the victim while it plugs directly into their energy field. And I'm going to read one more paragraph. False light entities can also make the lights flash in your house and make your computer and electronics go haywire. Yes, these are phenomena that can happen with lots of different kinds of entities, but it is worth mentioning here. I've noticed a pattern where the shapeshifter will become extremely threatened when the victim is preparing to meet with someone like me who knows the real truth about the entity, and it will often respond by making lights and electronics go bonkers. This is to trick them into thinking there is something off about the helper and make the person too scared and confused to get help. I want to keep reading. In a similar vein, there have been several instances when I was on a video call with someone dealing with an imposter entity, and when I would try to explain the situation to the client, the shapeshifter would very craftily lower the client's device volume so they could not hear what I was trying to tell them. We would try again and again. The client would clearly hear me say, "Can you hear me now?" But as soon as I would start explaining about the imposter entity, my voice would go muffled again. Very clever. The shapeshifter will also do anything it can to keep on with its ruse, including making the client sleepy, disoriented, or mentally foggy. Okay, we just have one more paragraph to finish this section. One of the most disturbing situations is when a false light entity's facade slips for a split second, for a split instant, showing the entity's true and often scary face, during which time the unknowing victim briefly glimpses the truth. This scenario is so common, especially so with individuals who are working with spirit guides or channeling messages from entities they have not thoroughly vetted. If this happens to you, remove the entity immediately. You have gotten a flash of the imposter's true identity. Do not give it a second chance. So that's just part of that chapter. Are you hooked in? Now, if you just joined, you missed out on the fact that I went over all of the table of contents for the book, because this book is not just about false light. That is just one little chapter. There is so much in this book. It's, I think I've tried to imagine if I didn't know all of this stuff and I was reading it for the first time, I don't think I'd be able to put it down because it's like, oh my God, really? What? There's just so many things that might blow your mind in this book. Um, is it L or is it Ellie? L is saying lights were flashing in my house today. Yeah, so at the very least, you have some paranormal activity going on. It could be false light. An indicator that is false light is if there are things showing up that are trying to pretend to be light beings, then that would be false light. And then just your standard paranormal is just ghosts, demons, other kinds of entities that are causing problems. They're not trying to pretend to be your deceased loved ones or angels or Jesus or ascended masters. They're just showing up as troublesome entities making your lights flash. So, seriously, Al, get this book and go to the final chapter, and it'll tell you exactly step by step what to do to clear that issue. Okay? And then I think that we're going to wind down for today. So, and then, what was I going to say? Okay. And then for anyone who needs more support, because obviously if someone's having a really complicated spiritual issue, like this book is going to help you understand so much, but sometimes you just need more than what's in a book. And that's where my Spiritual Empowerment Academy comes along. And you can get more information about that at my website, psychicprotectionsanctuary.com, and click on Work with Maya, and you'll see it right there, along with some other options. So there will be plenty of options for you to choose from. And mark your calendar. Remember to come back every Tuesday evening at 5:30 Pacific, 6:30 Mountain, 7:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. And today we just kind of did a hangout and a book reading. Next week I am going to be teaching an official class. Those run an hour, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. And I'm going to be teaching all about spirit guides and what I really think about them. I am not anti-spirit guide. But I'm not completely pro-spirit guide either. So if you want to know all the details, then come back next week. And that would be, let's see, today's Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. On February 21st, I will be teaching that class. All of these classes are then uploaded onto my YouTube channel, Psychic Protection Sanctuary YouTube channel. So you can watch all of the replays either in the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel. Everybody have a wonderful evening. And if you want to get my new book, you can get it on Amazon. The Psychic Attack Sourcebook. And then my first book, Darkness Disguised as Light. Honestly, if you have both of these books, you're going to have a lot of information about psychic protection and how to protect yourself and exactly what to do. So I encourage you to get both of those books. Have a great evening, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with you again every Tuesday night, sending you lots of love tonight and always.